Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Forge Podcast. This is episode 20, and we have a special guest today. His name is Kaylor Hodges. He is the host of the Hammering Down podcast, but we've also got a lot more to get into, such as the Bulls had a couple games this past week, as well as the Squadron having a few games, along with the Fall Fan Fest with the Birmingham Stallions. But before we get into all of that, we've got to thank you guys for watching, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. This time it's live. We're going to try live this week just to see how it goes because it's been a while since we've done a live podcast. So just to see how it goes. So thank you for watching, or if you're listening to us on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Audible, or wherever you're finding your podcasts. So thank you guys for watching and listening and supporting the channels. And we also have to thank special sponsor Blue Spring Living Water, continuously keeping us hydrated. Whether it's you're buying it at the store at your favorite grocer, or you're getting it delivered right to your door, you're getting clean water that is bottled right at the source, naturally minerally enriched water that's not got any kind of nasty chemicals added to it, and it's sourced right down the road over in Blount County. So thank you to Blue Spring for that. And with that, this is episode 20 of the Forge Podcast. As I mentioned, we have a special guest. We're going to start things off with Kaylor Hodges. Like I said, he is the host of the Hammer Down podcast and always sharing USL news and updates on social media. And it's just great to have the one, the only Kaylor Hodges with us. Thank you, Kaylor, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me on. I was super excited when I got your message, and I'm always down to talk Legion. It's always a blast.
Awesome. So, as far as the Legion season, it's not what we wanted to see, but discuss some of the challenges the Legion faced this season that wound up leading to the second half we saw.
A lot of it comes down to, I think it's really easy to point out two places: your striker, your goal scorer, essentially, and your goalkeeping position, the person who's trying to keep the goals not being scored. Um, Birmingham signed one striker this year, and he played about 61 minutes before getting injured and never coming back. And that was kind of the only striking move made until late in the season when Mateus getting eventually signed. And then at goalkeeper, you end up having five goalkeepers get actual minutes with the team. If you're someone who's not a soccer fan and, you've talked to people with the Bulls before, imagine having five goalies mind the net in the season and actually play. And not just that, they had eventually seven people make the bench, which is tied for the USL record ever. That's just something that's it's going to lead to a lot of downfall, especially when you're just dealing with that much turnover. And just in general, the team just didn't seem to click at home, which is where your fortress is supposed to be. They were really good away, but the East was so good this year that going away isn't going to guarantee you points when the teams that you're having to face the most often are so good. And it's just a lot of these culminating factors that led to Legion getting eliminated the second to last game before the season ended.
Right. Um, but like you said, there's nothing else we could have done. We tried to replace some of those guys and all of that, but what do you expect to see come out of this off season?
What do I expect to see or do I want to see? Because I think those are different things. Judging by what Legion have done in the past, they tend to have a pretty quiet offseason. They'll re-sign a few guys, they'll hype a few guys up that they're signing, and that's about it. but it's pretty business as usual. I mean, to the point that like you, you go look, you can't find it. But where have they even announced that the coach has been re-signed or given an extension? The only thing they can find out there is that the coach was signed. Coach Tommy Sohn was signed before the season ever started in 2019, let alone a re-signing. So what I'm expecting is a little bit more all quiet on the Western Front, to be honest. And then, the season's going to roll around and we're going to find out that we have another friendly, probably with someone like Atlanta United or Huntsville City. And that's kind of that.
Yeah. Um, I feel that I got a couple of myself. So, um, but yeah, there's been a lot of criticism of Tommy Sohn this past season, and his composure during the game, that he doesn't seem as animated as some of the other coaches in the league. Do you think that's warranted?
Uh, there's something to that where you see a coach that's really fired up on the sideline. And I think for the players, that doesn't really matter. A lot of what you see with coaches, some of it's real, some of it's fake. Um, Stuff like if you are a Premier League fan or just someone who follows European soccer, Mikel Arteta for Arsenal, the manager there, he's not an animated human, but on the sidelines, he is just a completely different animal. And the reason is because he knows when he gets going and when he's screaming, when he's going after the ref and going after players and like really hyping up the players and being animated on the sidelines, the fans reciprocate that. Whatever the coach does, the fans will do. And I think if you're trying to build a home atmosphere and really trying to grow something, I think that is an issue. But in terms of getting actual results on the field, do the players need someone screaming at them, telling them where to go? Not really. In fact, like a lot of responsibility of that kind of stuff is put onto Captain Fanuel Kavita, where he's kind of the coach on the field. And depending on what's going on, it's not a bad idea because he can see more things from right there than coach can from the sideline. He's getting the full pitch view, where I think that actually ends up working better for the club.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I feel that because sometimes you're right. It is sometimes fake just to kind of get everybody riled up, but and you do need, sometimes this team throughout the season needed a little bit of that energy uh, just to get through, but I don't know. Speaking of coach, there's been rumors going around that he may have coached his last game for the Legion. Do you believe any of that has any merit?
I'll be honest, until I see that Coach Sohn is no longer the head coach of the Birmingham Legion, I refuse to believe that they have made a coaching change. you know, it's I do I think that he should have coached his final game? Personally, yes. But that doesn't mean I want him fired. I actually want him to be promoted to like a more of a general manager, director of football role, where his goal is signing players. Because the reason that we've gotten these incredible players is because of Coach Sohn. And I think keeping him around and letting him be a real just evaluator of talent, I think that's going to be the best thing for this club. That said, I think that some of the tactical decisions we've seen, some of the ideas have just kind of run old, and that it's time to get a new voice in there. There's been a lot of discontentment going on ever since 2021 when the team all they needed was a draw to win the division versus Louisville. And instead of going for a win, they subbed out all their best attacking players. And in the 82nd minute, Louisville goes and gets the game winner. And we've seen a lot of that kind of stuff where the fans have lost faith. And in the end, the fans are the lifeblood of the club. The players are obviously professionals and they are the product. but they need to sell the product to somebody. And the fans are more and more just not backing the coach. And if you're Legion, you have to really tread a line of, do I want to have a coach that people don't trust and thus are not going to come watch the club when he's their coach? Because people are already saying that they are not going to renew season tickets if he's still the coach. As a club, as a business, you can't afford to do that. I think he should have, but until he's not on the sideline, I'm not going to believe any rumors.
Right. That's how I am generally. You can speculate. People can speculate all they want to, but until it comes from the source itself, there's no reason to believe anything. Um,
Yeah.
but you were talking about the fans. Um, it's there's been a lot of talk about trying Legion trying to get their own smaller stadium, and do you think that it'd be able to be done in Birmingham, or do you think you'd have to go south of town, like over around Shelby County or something?
Well, Legion has their own training facility now out in Shelby County, just outside of Chelsea. And it is partially is because it's more affordable, right? Um, I think that if Legion wanted to do something in town, they could. It's going to cost a lot more money. Um, I it's hard, but I do think there are places that it could work. I think there are places that they can make it work. I think the thing is right now is kind of surviving this protective stadium lease and seeing what they have left in the budget, right? Because they don't want to build a stadium and get minimum to zero help from the city and then like completely burn through their pockets. It's just not smart business. I think that a thing that fans need to really get on board with is that the training facility is just as big, if not a bigger deal than a stadium because Birmingham Legion own their training facility. The city does not own the training facility. And that's real investment. And not just that, they are one of the few clubs in the USL with their own personally owned training facility. And everything that I've seen, I've gone to a lot of facilities and I've talked to a lot of players doing the USL show. Like Legion have one of the top three training facilities in the USL. You can argue they are number two with Louisville, the number one being the Oakland Roots, who they use a former NFL facility with the Raiders, right? And NFL money is a little bit different than USL money, obviously. So when you look at stuff like that, and it's going to become the home of Birmingham Legion 2 and the W League team, that you're already seeing the steps in progress to at least there's a home for those teams. And therefore, you're not having to go to protective as much. You're not going to have to go to other facilities as much. Um, I think they can put it in Birmingham, but it's going to be really hard financially. And that's going to be hard to pull the trigger on, basically.
Yeah, and you were talking about that training facility out there. It's really that's a really nice facility. That joint venture between them and UAB, it's really cool. To see that. And as far as the stadium, it'd be a better for television too if they could,
Yep.
you know, make it a smaller stadium, get a smaller stadium, and make it look better on television. And that would actually make people want to go to these games.
I think there are ways to flip the stadium so it would look better. I think that instead of putting the two supporters groups on the ends of the goal, which granted, it's awesome place to put the supporters groups. They're right behind the goalkeeper, cheering on our goalkeeper, bringing down their other goalkeeper. I get it. But I think if you move the supporters groups to the main stand and basically just kind of squished everybody together, it would look better on TV. And I think the atmosphere would really liven up because people would be able to be a part of the atmosphere as opposed to just listening to it on the other side of the stadium. I think that it would fix a lot of issues. And I mentioned Oakland Roots earlier. They were at Hayward Stadium, which only has one stand, and it's 6,000 people, and it is just a big wall of people. I think Legion can recreate that. Yes, you want to fill the full lower bowl, but that's not doable. There's a lot of reasons why. I think that if Legion really want to make Protective as much of a powerhouse as they can, I think you put everybody together, get everybody involved with the atmosphere together, and really just push to say, hey, we are all together in this, and it'll look better on TV.
Right. Um, Switching. There's been all the other places in the USL. We saw that the Memphis 901 SC is moving to Santa Barbara due to the stadium issues and other things there. Do you think we'll see any of the effects from that announcement here in Birmingham?
The biggest effect that we'll probably see is that Legion will more than likely be moved to the Western Conference. That seems to be the most obvious step. And the other part of that is Legion is losing their longtime rival. And it goes long before then both teams were in the USL. When both teams were in the NPSL, and it was Memphis City FC and Birmingham Hammers, like those teams butted head. They hated each other. And it's a big rivalry. I mean, think about the just nature of Birmingham versus Memphis. We just had the Battle of the
Mm-hmm.
Bones. For basketball, it's a huge deal, right?
Yep.
Losing that rivalry is going to hurt a lot, but not for, oh, Legion have to go out west and they have to fly more. It's like, man, you're losing your biggest rival. I mean, UAB fans can speak on it. They didn't have Memphis in their conference. They didn't schedule each other for a while. And it was hard to really find that team that you just hated, right? It kind of comes in droves. And like you would find a team this week, you would find a team that week. Hey, these 2 years, we hate this team. But when you have that one team that you circle and you say, I despise them, and you don't have them anymore, it hurts. But if we're talking about just on the field, I think moving to the West and having to fly out to Oakland's and Sacramento's and New Mexico's and Phoenix and San Antonio and Orange County and making those trips week in, week out, spending 3, 4 weeks on a plane, I think that's going to add up, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about the Memphis and Birmingham showdown because it's there's multiple teams around the city that not just UAB, not just I mean you got the Memphis Showboats and the Birmingham Stallions. You've got there's just so many uh, correlations there, and it does break my heart that they're going to be moving out and they don't have a team. So switching things over to you personally, tell everyone a little bit
Yeah.
about yourself and how you fell in love with the game of soccer or football, if you will.
Well, honestly, it kind of started off with me being at a friend's house who his dad liked soccer a lot and somehow had a TV channel that showed the second division in England. And I was like 5 or 6, and I saw Crystal Palace on TV. And this was when they were in the championship there. And as a 5-year old, I was like, man, Eagles are cool. I guess I want to like the team that has an eagle. And, then I started actually watching and I was like, man, this is kind of fun. This is a good time. Um, it kind of went dormant for a little while. And then there was a team in Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati, who's now moved to MLS. And I went and watched a professional match in person facing who? Crystal Palace, and I just fell in love with it. And I came home and I just started researching anything. Where can I get local soccer? And it was the Birmingham Hammers. And we were just a little NPSL team that would get a couple thousand people going out to Sacred Hollow and then out to Samford. And it was awesome. And ever since then, it was like, I want to support football. I want to support soccer in Birmingham, Alabama, because I saw the fans out there. Those were real fans. Those were real support, and it's still real support. And it's why I do what I do, and I love what I love.
Yeah, I remember when the Hammers first came to town. I was excited to get a real professional soccer team here in the city. So, what led you to the media realm of things?
Just like everybody else who had a little bit of money for a microphone, COVID. Um, I it was such a bizarre story. I was in college and COVID happened, had nothing to do, and someone was like, "Hey, the USL is trying to create this Rocket League tournament." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll join this Rocket League tournament. I play way too much of it." Well, lo and behold, because the USL had a deal with ESPN, that tournament was shown on ESPN Plus. And so I was representing Legion and all that kind of stuff. And I decided I'm bored. And so I'm going to start going on Twitter and I'm just going to start like trash talking like other clubs and other things like that. And I started putting out post game interviews on my own because, again, I was bored. It was COVID. I had nothing to do. And it kind of became an obsession of just like, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep talking and I want to keep just talking to people. And it slowly turned into I'm going to buy this microphone and talk into it for like 20 minutes about my very intellectual thoughts on Legion, which just turns into incoherent rambling after a while. But people listen to it apparently. And it's led to me doing the USL show and other awesome opportunities. And it's how we got started and how we got here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your podcast that you got going, and
Yeah.
what everyone can expect to see.
Yeah, so hammering down, it's just me. It is just me sitting down, getting onto a microphone. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, Audible, all the major platforms. Um, I just kind of talk and I talk about what's going on with Legion. When I was really, really going, I was doing every single match, pregame, postgame, and trying to get back to doing that. The other place you can find it is the USL show, where we interview people like crazy. We talk to other people, and it's just an absolute blast. Of We talk to owners, we talk to players, we talk to coaches, and we have some of the best insiders in the game on our show. And you can find all sorts of stuff through the USL show network.
Awesome. You kind of pretty much told us where all can we find you and hear or see more.
Yeah, at Kaylor Hodges on Twitter, at Kaylor Hodges on Blue Sky, and at the USL Show on Twitter and Blue Sky is where you can find any kind of social media account, whether to follow me or block me, whichever one comes first.
Awesome. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a great time. So can't wait to see what else you have on your on Twitter. So love seeing your posts on Twitter, especially through the playoffs and all of that. So love being able to
Well,
keep up with that.
I appreciate you having me on. It's been an absolute blast.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks again. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Kaylor for coming on. It was such a great interview there. Um, he's just a great to talk to and great to watch on Twitter. His the way he puts his tweets, or if they're even still called tweets now that it's X. But switching over to the Birmingham Bulls.
Fight human nature.
Well, it's your
human nature.
the
Just
players
to
in our
relax, and if you want to be
team are
uncommon.
all
You have
interviewing,
to be different. You know,
for
like playing in the
role-playing
NBA is
jobs
different.
in the
Sorry. Few technical difficulties there. But switching over to the Birmingham Bulls, we have a game this past Friday in Knoxville where they took on the Ice Bears. The game started out with Stephen Minger in the net for the Ice Bears and Stewie in for the Bulls. Just 7.5 minutes into the game, we saw Michael Gillespie find himself in the box for a hook, putting the Bulls on the first penalty kill of the night. After the successful penalty kill, Trevor Thurston found himself in the box for an unsportsmanlike offense, but it was leveled out with Knoxville getting charged with a roughing penalty there. In the second period, just 1.5 minutes into the period, Colton Olnick got caught for boarding. Then, just over halfway through the penalty kill, Knoxville capitalized on the power play, and just shy of the halfway mark through the second period, the Ice Bears were handed a minor for roughing. Then, just 34 seconds into the power play, Michael Gillespie put the puck in the net for the to tie the game. Just when they leveled the score, Knoxville scored again, and then Seth Benson got a major penalty for fighting, but then a double major on top of that for a game misconduct for being the aggressor in the fight. Unfortunately, the Ice Bears were able to capitalize on that the power play, but it was just one, luckily, just to put them up 3-1 at the second intermission. And then in the third period, the Ice Bears put the Bulls on power play just over a minute in. Then just halfway through the power play, the Ice Bears committed an unsportsmanlike penalty. Then 6 seconds later, Nikita Kazarev found the back of the net and was able to capitalize on the first power play. Then we saw Michael Gillespie scoring the tying goal 26 seconds later to capitalize on the second. Then the Ice Bears wound up getting caught with too many men on the ice in the 4-minute mark of the third. Then, unable to capitalize on that power play, Philemon Ledzianko found himself in the box for a trip. Then, after the successful penalty kill, he took a trip back to the box, this time for a delay of game. Then we saw, unfortunately, just 3 minutes into the overtime period, we saw Knoxville walk it off at home. Just a very competitive game overall. And as they headed back down south to Pelham this past Saturday, hosting Knoxville for Yellowstone Night. And they started out with Taylor Joseph in the net for the Ice Bears and Lotzie in for the Bulls. The Bulls came out just as hot as just over a minute and a half into the game. Philemon Ledzianko wound up putting the puck in the net off of a pass from his brother, Arkip. The rest of the first period was just run out with not without incident or anything like that. Even though the Ice Bears did outshoot the Bulls 11-14 in the opening period. Coming back out for the second, the Bulls wound up scoring again just 2 minutes into the period. This time it was Seth Benson, but Ledzianko brothers both assisted with that goal. And then just over a minute after the goal, the Bulls went on a power play for a cross-check. After the unsuccessful power play, Ledzianko brothers are back at it again. This time it was Arkip putting the puck in the net. And then less than 2 minutes later, the Ice Bears got on the scoreboard finally. But then just with over 2 minutes to play in the second, Arkip scored again, retaking the 3-goal lead. Then just under 30 seconds after the newcomer, Trevor Thurston wound up finding himself in the box for a cross-check, sending the Bulls on their first penalty kill of the evening. In the final period, Drake Glover got charged with a knee just 16 seconds into the period. The Ice Bears were able to capitalize on the Glover penalty just 33 seconds into the penalty kill. Just over 4 minutes into the third, Drake Glover was able to get the puck in the net after his penalty was over. And then newcomer Trevor Thurston got a goal with just 2.5 minutes later. But then the Ice Bears quickly answered back on that right at the midway point of the period. And then seconds later, the Bulls went on the power play for a delay of game. And Nikita Kazarev was able to capitalize on that one right before the penalty expired. Then the Ice Bears were only able to make one more goal with just 7 minutes left in the game as the Bulls advanced to 5-2-2 on the season. As far as the standings go, Fayetteville Marksmen are number 1. Huntsville is number 2. And Peoria Rivermen are number 3. And the Bulls are in 4th place. So hopefully we can keep winning games and get a little bit of chemistry going there with this team. But we got a couple games this coming up week, or a game this week, as Friday the Bulls will take on the Macon Mayhem again, and they will be giving out to the first 1,000 fans a Toro bobblehead. So that's going to be a great night for the Bulls there. Switching things over to the Birmingham Squadron. The Thursday night, they took a trip to Rio Grande Vipers, and Birmingham took their first road trip of the regular season. So the Squadron had the same starting 5 as last Saturday, and after winning the starting tip, the Squadron then allowed the Vipers to jump out to a 5-0 lead. The Squadron did wind up tying it back up and scoring 28 unanswered as they held the lead throughout the first period, with shots going back and forth. Brockington was a major contributor as he wound up scoring in double digits in the first quarter, until the halfway mark when Birmingham wound up hitting 3 straight threes unanswered. Did it go back and forth? So Squadron kept the lead all the way to halftime, and this time it was Trey Mitchell going 2 for 2 on threes. And then coming out of halftime, the Squadron continued to protect that lead as they were continuing to go back and forth, battling through the third quarter. And into the fourth quarter, the Squadron wound up pulling it out and extending that lead. So Squadron just totally controlled this game. It was great to see, great basketball. But they finally wound up winning it 121-95. The biggest contributor was the accurate shooting, and they were about 70% in the paint and 45% from behind the arc. So great shooting there for the Birmingham Squadron. But unfortunately, the that shooting did not go as great on Friday night, as they tried to run it back on Friday, but it just didn't work out because the Vipers wound up holding the Squadron to 1-6 from behind the arc and only allowing 9 chances in the paint. In the second quarter, wasn't much better as they did retake the lead early, but then quickly had it ripped away for the remainder of the game. The Squadron were just couldn't get any shooting opportunities, and but even in the loss, center Carlo Matkovic had a double-double night with 18 points and 11 rebounds. They wound up coming back home on Sunday, hosting OKC Blue. Birmingham wound up coming back home to host the last year's champion, which was the OKC Blue, trying to get back to 500. And the Blue wound up taking the opening tip. They went down for a quick 3, but afterward the Squadron went on a scoring spree of 17 unanswered points. That set up the Squadron to lead the entire game as they were hot again on threes. Isaiah Brockington wound up setting a career high 34 points and going 8 for 9 from behind the arc. So, great night for him. Overall, team efficiency was great with shooting 50% from behind the arc and 64% in the paint. So, that was so great for that team. Hopefully, we can keep it up. We talked to Coach about how he's keeping these guys and getting them developed, and this is what he had to say.
Well, the players on our team are all interviewing for role-playing jobs in the NBA. So they could put up 30 here, it's fine. I think our offense allows for anybody to do that. It's just trying to make the right play at the right time. So if Trey Mitchell's in the right spot, he could get 30 over and over again. We try to teach and coach team basketball here because you get called up in the NBA, you have to do it. You have to do it. So we just try to get them ready before where they're going.
Then we also talked to him about what he said at halftime to keep these guys in control of this game. And here's what he said.
Fight human nature. I mean, human nature is just to relax, and if you want to be uncommon and you have to be different, like playing in the NBA is different, it's uncommon. And so we talked a lot about that at halftime and keeping it up. It's, we were down 16 at RGV, they were down however many here, and it's like human nature to just kind of relax, and I didn't want them to. That's why I called a couple timeouts pretty early to snap them back.
So just great to see how coach is keeping, these guys, their mental state pretty good. We did find out today that the Pelicans are recalling Karlo Matkovic. So as soon as we find out what the roster will be for this Friday, we will let you guys know. The standings right now, Birmingham is sitting currently at 500 with a 2-2 record and in 5th place in the Southern Division of the NBA G League. The top 3 are loaded with some teams that we've already faced with this season. Mexico City Capitanes are number 1. The Rio Grande Vipers are 2nd place. And the OKC Blue are in 3rd. This week we have the Austin Spurs coming in to take on the Squadron at Legacy Arena, as well as the OKC Blue coming back to take town to take on the Squadron as well. So just need to keep on winning games and keep these the consistency going there. Switching over to the Birmingham Stallions. The Stallions hosted a fall fan fest this past week, and we saw it was actually at the Cahaba Brewing over in Crestwood, and the fans were able to come out and meet and greet each other after the championship. They were able to take pictures with the trophy there, you can see, as well as you got to hear from leadership from the league and the team as well. So it was just overall a great night to see everyone getting together, and they were able to see Stanley there, and just great night to connect for the league to connect with the city of Birmingham there. We actually got a few interviews with a few of the leadership of the league and the team. UFL President and CEO Russ Brandon, we got to talk to him first, and he started out with his thoughts on Birmingham.
But I can tell you in my times here last year, the passion this fan base has, it's amazing how they connect, the fans here connect with the team, and we're looking to do more. We want more people to experience Stallions football. And now that we have an off season, to have our full front office of 8 that we have here on the ground every day here in Birmingham is very important to continue to spread the message of Stallions football, and looking forward to getting the schedule out soon. And we have tickets on sale right now, our season ticket renewals and new season tickets. So we hope a lot of people come out and experience what a great atmosphere it is at Protected.
He then discussed how the league is trying to connect with the home markets. And this is what he had to say.
Well, listen, it's all about being a part of the community. And that's why we do have active front office, to be a part of the community. And I love being here. I know Daryl does. It's like home for him for the first couple of years of the USFL and what it means to Coach Holtz. You'll see his energy later and what this community means to him as well. So that's what it's about. It's about connectivity. And it's about our front offices being here and being a part of the community on a daily basis. So I like to say we were drinking out of the proverbial fire hose last year, getting up and running with the merger. Now we have time to sit back and build our programming and our assets and have a tactical roadmap to success, not only in Birmingham, but throughout the UFL.
We also asked him about if the league will work on how the league is working on incentivizing live attendance to fight off the convenience of watching the TV product. And this is what he said.
Yeah, it's funny. That's been a long-standing question in the NFL as well, with the great ratings that they have and the TV product being very convenient. And I will tell you this market in particular has incredible TV ratings for Stallions football when they're on the road, especially. We want to make the game more of an event. We want to give people the reason to come. Obviously, there's nothing like being there live, seeing moments in person, spending time with your collective families and friends. That's what it's all about. I worked in Buffalo for 2 decades. There's not a better tailgating atmosphere in the country than Buffalo. And it's about bringing people, that communal effect of bringing people together. We're looking at a lot of different ways to make Protective more of an event during the game so people can come out and experience a multitude of opportunities outside of the football game. So Dave Martin, who runs our team here on the Stallion side, and his incredible front office continues to work on that. We want, again, to get more people than in the building to experience the opportunity of Stallions football.
We then got to talk to UFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Daryl the Moose Johnston. And he opened up with what Birmingham means to him and spring football as a whole.
The big thing is just getting an opportunity to come back to Birmingham. So if somebody calls and says, "Hey, we need you to come down to Birmingham," I'm like, "All right, awesome, let's go." It's always going to be special for me here, especially the connection with Legacy USFL. This is where everything started. One of the interesting things that has been talked about this year is this is going to be the first time in the history of the spring football landscape that you have a team host its 4th consecutive season. So Birmingham is the only team that can say that because we were here in Birmingham in year 1 with Legacy USFL. So, for the Birmingham Stallions, this is a huge milestone. And
we then asked him, he actually also talked about trying to get how the league is trying to get fans in the stands.
And what we're trying to do is to just get everybody here in the Birmingham area to understand what this team is doing, to get more support behind them on game day, for us to share information with you and what we're trying to do to enhance that game day experience. So our goal is really across the league, but especially here in Birmingham, is to increase the attendance at our games. You'll hear the rallying cry, "Pack Protected." We were at an event last night, and Skip Holtz, had a great line. The old saying, "If you build it, they will come." And Skip said, "I've built it. Now it's time for everybody to come out to Protected Stadium and cheer on the Birmingham Stallions." So, to do 4 in a row they're already in uncharted territory. No professional sports franchise has ever won 3 in a row in football. So, that is something that the Kansas City Chiefs may do, but the Birmingham Stallions have already done. So they're on the quest to get to 4. And I know that Skip and Zach are working really, really hard. I see the daily reports come through and look at the additions to the roster. And they're doing a great job of balancing, kind of the consistency with some of the really good players from years past, and also adding some really nice new key ingredients. So we're excited about what Birmingham's going to do in season 2 of the USFL, but we will always be grateful to what the city of Birmingham and the Birmingham Stallions mean to our involvement in spring football.
We then talked to him about how the league is connecting with the home markets.
Well, we're gonna do it in all 8. Not just St. Louis and Birmingham. The biggest thing for us is all 8, and we had some markets that had some challenges that we hopefully have remedied this year. So we're looking at all 8 to take a big step forward. So the biggest thing for year 2 is going to be the complete off-season calendar, the cadence that we're going to be able to have. I know that it was really, really frustrating for Russ Brandon last year, to have the focus go entirely on football, to make sure that the football was what it was, because that was going to be on display to the fans. And we didn't have the time to come into the home markets and build it the way he wanted to build it. We've been able to do that this offseason, and to have David Martin and his staff here on the ground. You'll hear Russ talk about boots on the ground in the home market a lot, and that's something we've been able to do. But we couldn't do that last year when the merger goes through on January 12th, and we're reporting to camp on February 27th, and we're kicking off on March 29th. It was too hard, to get into the home markets and have a presence the way we wanted to. So we're expecting a big difference this year just because of the cadence of the off-season calendar. It's a complete full off-season timeline that we're working off of, and we've tried to stay ahead of it as best we can.
We also asked him about whether there have been any discussions about rule changes or any adjustments to the game mechanics, and this is what he had to say.
We really haven't. At this point, there has been no discussions. And I know the first 2 years, especially Legacy USFL, those were some conversations that we had. The one thing that I've heard from some of the coaches that I'll bring to the committee that makes that decision is there any way possible that we could consider having a 1-point PAT? What we heard from a lot of the coaches last year, it's disheartening to have a great opening drive, go down the field, score a touchdown, and then miss on the 2-point conversion and sit at 6 points. So they said it'd be nice to see some 7s, on the screen or on the scoreboard. So that's one thing that we may bring in. But I do know that it was one of the things coming out of year 2 in Legacy USFL that our group at that time, we were trying to find a way to create more 2-point opportunities or 3-point opportunities. And, this is a way that we were able to accomplish that, is just by taking the 1 point away and not give you that option. So, that might be something that we bring to the committee and talk about. But it was definitely something that we went the other direction in last year. So I don't know how much support we'd be able to get for that. But it was one of the things that our coaches mentioned to us during the course of the season. But other than that, I think, we've been very incremental in how we've done it. So I think we're in a pretty good spot right now, even from timing and mechanics and other things. So I think that, some of the rule changes we made last year that came into play, we're good. But I think we only had 2 or 3 last season. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we were not to have one this year.
We then talked to Stallions head coach Skip Holtz. He had actually earlier talked to Jocks FM, the radio station, and discussed the team's success and how it's primarily been driven due to the chemistry of this team continues to have. So we asked him what role that the returning core such as JoJo, Marlon Williams, CJ Marable, Cole Schneider, and many more, that's just to name a few, that have come back year after year, has to do with that aforementioned chemistry, and that is constantly demonstrated by this team. And this is what he had to say.
You know what? I think the word, you hear it all the time, and it's, I think sometimes it's probably overused. Right now, those are what we call culture players. Those are guys that know how we do things. Those are guys that are going to grab the new additions and say, hey, we don't do that here. This is how we, you know what I mean? This is how we operate. So really, it's like you have 15, 20 more coaches on the field. Those are culture players. And I think it's critical to have those guys here. I don't think this is all it's not a combine. It's not just about height, weight, speed. It's about having some culture players that are going to, that understand how important it is to give up your individuality for us to win. It's not about we're going to have a temper tantrum because I didn't get enough touches. It's like, look, when we win, we're all going to get the credit we deserve. We've had more players, in an NFL camp than any other team. We've won more games than any other team, and it's a formula. And the formula starts with winning. And as long as we can keep that culture with some of those mainstay guys that have helped us build that, we certainly hope that we can continue that. But I don't want to throw the culture out the window just to try and build a more talented roster.
It was great to talk to him, and we actually talked to him off camera, and yes, there have been many calls from the collegiate realm. However, he said that his passion is for the UFL and with the Birmingham Stallions. So it was great to talk to all those guys, especially Russ Brandon, our first interview with him one-on-one like that. So it was great to talk to him here in Birmingham. Then we had a few changes in the UFL front office. We saw Vince Panazzo, Senior Vice President of Creative and Content. He comes out of Meta as a global marketing lead for sports, entertainment, and innovation. So it looks like the league's trying to double down on their social media presence this year with that signing there. Then we saw Jason Bernstein, who is now the Vice President at Partner Strategy and Solutions. He is out of ESPN and other different businesses, but looks like they're going to bring him to get a little bit more structure this year. As you heard from CEO Russ Brandon, they have the full off season to kind of structure everything. Because last season you saw there was a lot of XFL stuff and then a lot of USFL stuff because they didn't have a chance to actually merge everything and actually come up with a strategy or a plan for that. So hopefully he'll be able to get some a little bit more structure with the league there on that. And then we saw Jen Saylor signed as the Vice President of Marketing and Branding. She was formerly an NBA Director of Brand Strategy. So a lot of experience there. Looks like they're going to try to more efficiently market the league branding in a way to get more viewers in areas with no market and possibly get more fans of the games in areas with the team. So good to see that. The marketing last season was better than the USFL, but very much identical to the XFL. So hopefully this edition will kind of boost that there. We also saw Mike Wade come in as the Senior Vice President of Communications, replacing Jeff Alstetter. He comes in with over 18 years experience in the NBA, most recently as the Director of Team Business and Partner Communications. So stoked for all these additions. And after this week, I am so ready for the league to kick off tomorrow. So stoked for that. Little bit of business to get to with the Shotgun Sports Network. We have an announcement. Shotgun Sports Network is getting a new podcast. I will be involved. It will be a cooperative venture between Shotgun Sports Network LLC here in the U.S. and Shotgun Sports Network Limited, or LTD, in Canada. The new podcast will be called the Shotgun Sports Bar, and it will consist of a rotation of guests and provide a little bit of a casual sports talk environment across the Shotgun Sports Network family, and may even have a couple guests come by from time to time, but just stoked to get this going because it's a little bit more, like I said, more of a casual atmosphere where this is a little bit more structured as far as, per Birmingham sports, and my partner, Scout Nadek, has his the Elks call for the Edmonton Elks and Edmonton sports there. So can't wait to get that started. Once we get more information, we will share it across all our platforms. But in closing, special thanks you to Kaylor for joining us this evening. We saw our first full week of Squadron basketball this season and another week of hockey with the Bulls. And we have a full week of action this Friday as the Austin Spurs are coming in to take on the Squadron at Legacy Arena, and Macon will be in to take on the Bulls. So don't ever say you don't have anything to do on a Friday night, because you have two things you can do. You can either go to the Squadron game or go to the Bulls game. Kind of a tough decision there. So, and then Sunday, OKC will be back in town to take on the Squad again. Major weekend for the Burnt Magic City this weekend. So, thank you guys for watching. That's all we have for this week, and hope the live actually turned out pretty good. But until next week, I'll see you guys.